So a lot of people have been asking me about my hack for disassembling Muncie 4-speed main shafts. These are the Muncie 4-speed passenger car main shafts from 63 all the way up to 74, I believe. So I do cover that in my book, which is called Muncie 4-Speeds Building and Modifying. It's a really good book. It stays on the top 100 on Amazon, so thank you everyone for your support. It's been on the top 100 on Amazon for a really long time, and I wouldn't have been able to get that rating unless it was from you guys. So I appreciate it very much, and again, thank you so much for watching my videos. In this video, I'm going to just show you that hack and show you a few tips on the main shafts. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe. So what I have here is a late model Muncie, and by I mean late model, 1971, 1974, 32 spline output shaft assembly for an M20. It's got first gear, second gear, third gear. This is the 1-2 synchronizer assembly and the 3-4 synchronizer assembly right over here. These generally are very good wearing gear sets. The later gear sets seem to have the alloys really down. You can see the engagement teeth are in really excellent shape for a transmission this old. And also underneath these sliders are the hubs, and the synchronizer hubs on these were hardened hubs. And because they hardened the hubs underneath these, I'm going to just take this off right now so you could see. Put this over here. We don't need those keys. But these hubs are nice and hard, and they have this kind of grayish look to them. These are very rarely do they wear, and what I can tell you is that they're very hard to get on and off. So what you don't want to do is be banging on this with a hammer trying to pull the hub off. You really need to press things off properly. So I'm going to show you a really quick tip on how I get these things apart nice and fast. So what I like to do is I like to remove the 3-4 synchronizer hub snap ring. Now sometimes these things are put in backwards and they could be a real pain to get off, but this seems like it's on there fairly tight. I'm going to change these snap rings so I don't mind stretching them out, okay? I have small parts kits that have new snap rings in them, so I would rather just put new rings in there. Now if they're tight like this, what you can do is, which this one is, let me just put this back here so you can see here. Take a punch and just tap the snap ring like this to get the other side started. Then the other side is going to go in and get stuck in the groove, but you're going to work it back and forth until you wear the snap ring down a bit and get it out. And I have two different types of pliers, straight tips and angle tips. Now these hubs are very tight. This hub is not going to slide off like a regular Muncie hub does, okay? Now what we're going to do is flip this around this way. And we're going to get at this snap ring over here now, under the gear. And the reason why I do this is so that you're not pulling or banging against the speedometer gear over here. They're very soft metal and people chew them up all the time. They chew them up putting them on, and they chew them on taking them off. So we'll do the same thing. This seems really tight. Work it back and forth a bit. Well, I flip this thing around so we can get a better position on the snap ring here. Usually if you put it up you can kind of see what's going on better, okay? So I'm going to just get in here. You can see it's spread already. I just got to finish it off. Yeah, almost. There we go. So now that I've got the snap rings off, the procedure is I'm going to put press clamps underneath second gear and press everything right through. Then once that's out, I'm going to flip it around, put it on the press, and then press behind third gear and press everything through. All right, so I got this all set up in the press now. And you can see I've got the clamps supporting behind second gear. All right, just like that. So I'm pressing this through. And what's going to happen is the first gear bushing, which is really where the press is going to disconnect from the main shaft, and then the rest of the main shaft is going to drop down, and this gear is going to go right up against the reverse gear. All right. Now I use the reverse gear to press off the speedometer gear like this. This way nothing is damaging the gear. In other words, you're not pounding on the gear in any way, shape, or form. You're just going to use this reverse gear to pop the speedometer gear right off, just like this. See that? Now you can get these presses fairly cheap. I'm going to hold the main shaft on the bottom so it doesn't fall through. And that's done there. So you can see it's off the press now, and second gear is free, 1-2 assembly is free, first gear is free, and the first gear bushing is up here. And what we're going to do is just remove this speedometer gear, take off the reverse gear, take off the stretched out clip, take out the mid plate with the bearing, first gear, first gear synchronizer ring, first gear bushing, 1-2 synchronizer assembly, second gear with the second gear synchro ring. Now we just have to press off third. Right over here, we're going to pull right behind here on the press. So I've got third gear supported by the press clamps. You want to be very careful that you don't catch the flange of the main shaft. You can actually break the flange. So here we are with the 3/4 hub, little press tool, and we're ready to go. Now, certain people are making main shafts claiming that factory shafts don't have press fits. Well, they do. Okay, so you can design main shafts now where you can have a slip fit where they're still not press fit, but they don't chock back and forth. So all the Muncie main shafts, the late ones from 69 up, usually had these tight fits. Take out the third gear and the 3/4 hub, okay? And we're going to get this main shaft right out. So as you can see, that main shaft came apart pretty easy. I really recommend using a press. You can use a bench press or a fairly cheap 20-ton hydraulic press and a good set of press clamps. I've got links to the parts that I use in the video description. You may want to check that out. Some of these parts are really easy to damage, so you want to make sure you're not beating on them with a hammer or anything like that, and that's why I recommend doing it this way. Even if you look at some of the shop manuals, they never really go over this kind of shortcut that I use, and I've been doing this way for years, and it's worked out wonderfully. So I also want to show you some tips on some of these parts for these main shafts and some of the little trick parts that I use. Okay, so here we have this main shaft all cleaned up. It's in really good shape. But what I wanted to show you is these anti-rattle clips. A lot of people ask me what these clips are on the reverse gear if you have them. They're an anti-rattle clip. The spring kind of interferes with the spline a little bit, and that creates tension in the gear so it doesn't rattle on the spline. The problem with these clips is that they break really easy, so I recommend just taking them off like this and discarding them. Also, in a lot of the new main shafts, they do not have them. So they're removed on the new main shafts because it's a weak link having a hole. It's a stress riser in the shaft. So I simply remove them. I've never had a problem with reverse gears rattling, so that's a little thing I do. So another thing I want to talk about is the hubs. These are the nitrided factory hubs. These are beautiful hubs. You could see there's hardly any wear at all on this hub. Looks like to be in really good shape. And if I take the factory slider and I put it against the hub, you can see that the fit is really good. There's some rocking, which is normal. You have to have some clearance. But if you look at this edge as a reference point and the hub edge, you can see there's very little movement here. It's a really nice fitting piece. The biggest problem I see is people buying these cheap sliders on eBay. They work very well, but when you put them on a factory hub like this one, you can see how much slop you have. The video doesn't lie. I'm trying to hold my hand really still, but you could see the amount of slop. Hold it like this. You can see what's going on here, okay? So I had made my own sliders to fit better on factory hubs. I feel that they fit better than anybody's. And you can see here that when I put these on, they fit just as tight, and if not even tighter, than the factory sliders on the factory hub. Slide well. So if you're rebuilding a unit and you want to replace the sliders and your hubs are in really good shape, I make a really good slider. So another thing is factory synchronizer springs. This is a factory synchronizer spring, and you can see that it has an elongated edge. It kind of kicks up and then goes, I would say, a little bit, about 3/8 of an inch longer on the end over here. Most of the aftermarket springs you see look like this. They have a very tiny kick on them, and the problem is they can disconnect quite easily. All right, so I tend not to use these springs unless I really have to have something that's really kind of a light feel to it for some reason. But normally what I ended up doing was I actually duplicated the factory spring, and I made my own springs like this with the long edge on them. So these work out very well for me, and they have never been a problem. They don't come out from and disconnect from the keys like everybody else's do. So this is what I've been using on all my builds. So that's it. That's my Muncie Mainshaft disassembly hack. It's really no big thing. It's very quick. And again, the reason why I did this is because that sequence of disassembly is in several of my videos, but sometimes it's hard to find, and people were asking me specifically how to do that procedure, okay? So that's why I did this video separate. Again, it's short, but not as long as my other videos, but I hope to the point. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, and more importantly, if you could share my videos, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.